after Skyfall was probably going to be his last one, and then Spectre was probably going to be his last one. No Time to Die is reportedly Daniel Craig's last James Bond appearance.
Yeah.
And we thought it'd be only fitting, considering there is some continuity and some follow-ons and kind of a weaving story from this.
Throughout the whole franchise, from the 1960s, they planned it the whole time.
And they say Kevin Feige was a genius. We're going to be going from Casino Royale in 2006, not the original, let's be clear.
Yeah, I mean the original, yep. They're all connected. We're doing all of them.
I hope you're ready for this 15-hour episode of The Cynical Optimist. But anyway, we're going to look at the Daniel Craig films. We're going to say which ones we liked more, which ones we liked less, and just kind of talk about what we think might happen in No Time to Die. So how do you want to play this, Nick? Do you want to go through the old films first, and then we'll speculate on No Time to Die at the end?
Yeah, start with Casino Royale, the best one.
Yes, it is the best. It's got the best song as well.
Yeah.
I still listen to... Wait,
Yeah.
No, you're doing Quantum of Solace.
No, I wasn't. I was doing Casino Royale. Quantum of Solace was... how did that go? No, yeah, I was doing Quantum of Solace. How does Casino Royale go?
Wait, no, they both have a bit like that, don't they? So, well, just to clarify, it's You Know My Name is the one by Chris Cornell.
Who tragically died last year, I think.
And then Quantum of Solace was Another Way to Die.
Yeah.
Both of them have bits that go dunna, 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 dunna. But the songs actually are quite different.
Yes. I actually like the Quantum theme. That's Jack White and Alicia Keys. It was a bit of a random combo, but I actually quite liked it, despite what everyone says.
It was alright.
Yeah.
I didn't hate it. Like, I've not really disliked any of the recent Bond songs. I can't really remember the one from Spectre.
Spectre. No. How did it go? It went... 'Cause the writings on the wall... Like that, didn't it?
I don't know. Me and my friend just had the Skyfall song stuck in our heads, so we just kept on going, it's called Spectre. It's called... Which we annoyed the rest of our friendship group with for several days after we'd seen the film, to the point where I don't remember what the Spectre song was.
Yeah, it was Writings on the Wall by Sam Smith, but Radiohead did were going to do it originally, I believe, and they did a song called Spectre, which I think is actually quite a bit better, but they didn't use it, so that's fine.
So anyway,
but
Casino Royale.
Yes.
It's about he's reasonably new to the job, James Bond, and it made quite a big deviation at the time because Daniel Craig was not, I guess, what you'd call at the time the stereotypical look of Bond, which
James
was kind of like what
Blonde. That was the headline back in 2004 or 5.
Yeah, and also the fact that it had like realistic like blood and body damage, whereas I think most Bond films today, he's just kind of wandered away unscathed from quite serious things.
The absolute rubber band that was Roger Moore. Yes, definitely a lot grittier. Some of the action they took sort of straight from the Bourne movies, a lot sort of handheld, close, quick cuts and stuff like that. It was good.
And they did quite a lot of physical effects as well, because the main set piece I remember from that was him flipping the car over.
Oh yes, that that
Which
was.
they did actually do, didn't they?
And they broke a lot of records with that as well. The special effects coordinator who worked on that, whose name escapes me, I think he's done all of them, plus some of the
films. It says Chris Corbould here.
Chris Corbould. I think he did like the Dark Knight and everything as well, so he's really got a good sense of scale and spectacle, which really did make this film look excellent. Like the parkour scene at the beginning and the airport night chase as well, just all of the action stunt sequences I thought were spectacular in this film. And
it kicked off something for these films, I think we've alluded to it already, is that it kicked off the storyline. Because the events of this film do come up in future films, or at least they come up a bit in Quantum of Solace.
I'm not sure that was the intention necessarily.
Why? Well, the thing is with So spoilers for all the Daniel Craig James Bond movies, but I can't imagine why you're listening to this if you don't have any interest or haven't seen them. Obviously, the Casino Royale he goes and he tries to do his like peaceful life with his lady friend, and then she dies, and then he goes and on his revenge, and that's where Quantum of Solace picks up.
I think Quantum of Solace got a bit of bad stick because it was during the writers' strike, I believe, and so apparently Daniel Craig was like improving on the day kind of thing for a lot of the dialogue in that movie. But I think if you watch them back to back, it does improve Quantum slightly.
Well, see, I've only seen Quantum of Solace once, and that was last Thursday, because I hadn't seen it, and you told me to see it. And it just wasn't really that interesting.
No.
It didn't have, like, there's quite a few locations in Casino Royale, like, doesn't it start on a building site?
Whereas there's a car chase that goes through, a building site in Italy. And I think that car chase is excellent, by the way.
Yeah, but then the Quantum of Solace starts with a car chase. It's just nowhere near as interesting, and the whole thing is just not really as engaging. And the villain's thing is stealing water.
Oil?
No water.
Oh, yeah. I haven't seen that in a while.
There's a little bit of stuff to do with oil. And whilst there's some interesting stuff through it and the characters he meets, and his main thing is that M is concerned that because of the events of Casino Royale, he's out for like revenge.
Yeah. I think some of those bits are quite interesting. I quite like seeing Bond in a kind of revengeful state where he's like even more violent than usual and his emotions are affecting...
I'm not sure what the film really tries to conclude with that either, because he doesn't just outright kill the villain at the end, and that's meant to be like, oh, Bond spared him. But he dumps him in the middle of the desert with a can of motor oil to drink.
But that's the villain. Whereas he goes back to he meets up with Vesper's husband, who I think betrayed her. I can't really remember, but either way, he doesn't kill him at the end, which is his character.
Yeah.
I think it's, if you watch them back to back, I think it does improve Quantum slightly. And I do think that the car chase at the beginning of Quantum of Solace is pretty excellent. You've got the Aston, you've got some Alfa Romeos, you've got some Land Rover Defenders, with all sorts of practical stunts and whatnot. I think that's a pretty good opening.
Although now you mention it, I'm not surprised it's just before the writers' strike, because like the first 30 minutes of that film is a very short scene with some dialogue. And set piece that goes on for just a little bit too long. Yeah. And it definitely seems like the film is just killing time.
Yeah. They should call that the next Bond film.
Killing Time.
Killing Time.
Starring Daniel Craig, but this one's his last one. Anyway, following Quantum of Solace, there was a 4-year gap, and then we got the release of Skyfall. It's a good film, but Skyfall has the biggest example, and I'm not. You may disagree with me, but you've already alluded it to a bit by saying how Casino Royale takes some stuff from the Bourne movies. Skyfall, I think, is the biggest thing that made me almost notice and then not be able to ignore the fact that the Bond movies recently have just been following a lot of what's popular.
Yes, exactly.
They've not been leading.
I don't think that's necessarily a recent thing. I think that goes back to, Moonraker was a direct result of Star Wars.
Right.
Casino Royale was obviously sort of a direct response to Bourne. I don't know what Quantum was, but yeah, and then Skyfall was pretty much The Dark Knight, wasn't it?
Well, Quantum of Solace was just a film released in 2008, and that meant it had to be very dark and very grey and very dreary in its colour scheme. Yeah. And then Skyfall, you had the villain, but it was his plot. It was his plan to get caught and be put in a glass prison, then to escape. Yeah. And then at one point, a train comes off the lines at the exact right moment to let him escape. Yeah. And it was all very clever and all very planned out. Don't think about it too much.
Don't think about it at all.
It does have some good bits in it though, because it has the final. The final act takes place in the Scottish Highlands, or where it's supposed to take place. I think it's actually filmed in Dorset, or somewhere in the south.
Mm.
But it's a very good, like, they're holed up in a house and they have to take care of a large group of, like, enemy villains.
Mm.
I think that's all very good.
By using the Home Alone tactics, yeah.
Yeah, no. James Bond uses his spy training to set up a paint can with some string and stonks one of them in the head with it.
Yes, when you actually break down the plot, it doesn't make a huge heap of sense. He's, as far as I can tell, I haven't seen this film in a while, but I'm pretty sure Javier Bardem, I can't remember his character's name, Silva,
something like that.
Silver dentures, cyanide teeth, his full name. He set up M so that she had a court hearing in a specific part of London at a specific moment, and that's just when he happened to get found out by Bond and taken back to London, which was just one tube ride away. What? Very, very confusing.
It's 4-dimensional chess. It's 5-dimensional chess. It's too high brain thinking for me. I wouldn't be able to plan that far ahead. I can't plan my own life that
Also,
far
they
ahead.
blow up M's office at the beginning of that film, don't they?
Yes.
Why don't they just blow up M's office while M was in there? Like, does she have like a bomb detector built in? Would the office
really.
not have blown up if she was in there? Very complicated.
But then that's the kind of thing about Bond villains, though, isn't it? Like Quantum of Solace, what he's doing, he's got the guy tied to the chair at the beginning. He's trying to find out about the quantum group, whatever the secret group's called. And he's like, we've got people everywhere, even here. And the guy waits until he gets his cue of even here to get out his gun and shoot not M or Bond, but the other guy.
Yeah.
And then
Not even Rory Kinnear or any of the sort of like B-list characters in that movie. He just shoots some random grunt
and then runs away.
Yeah. By the time they get back, Mr. White's gone again. A lot of people really liked Skyfall. This was Sam Mendes and the great Roger Deakins.
Sam Mendes is a good director.
Yeah, and Roger Deakins is probably one of the best director of photography that has ever walked the world. But admittedly, it looked fantastic. Both Spectre and Skyfall, I think, looked pretty fantastic.
Yeah,
I'm just not sure. Like the sort of the action takes a bit of a dip, I think, compared to sort of the fast pacing of the previous two. And also the soundtrack. I believe David Arnold, who did Sherlock, did Casino Royale's score, which I thought was pretty spectacular. And since then, I feel like the score hasn't been anywhere near as thoughtful. I can't remember who did Skyfall. I think it was someone quite generic, but I didn't love Skyfall or Spectre necessarily. But let's talk a bit about Spectre. Mr. White is back.
Mr. White is back.
Yeah.
And this was the one. This was when I went to go see this film. This was the first time I actually realised that the films were meant to be linked. Because I think possibly because I hadn't seen Quantum of Solace, which is actually quite clearly a direct sequel to Casino Royale. I think Skyfall's pretty separate. But then in this film, it turns out all of them are being connected to Spectre, which is the group, isn't it?
Yeah. Led by
actually was all
Blofeld,
who was out to get James Bond specifically.
Yeah.
And all of this had been basically designed over the past few years specifically to get James Bond.
Yes.
Which is ridiculous.
Yes. Yeah, it's bizarre that they've... I mean, obviously, again, like we were saying about Bond trying to follow trends, in that this Spectre was the film that tried to do a cinematic universe and weave in some sort of overarching plot, despite the fact that Casino Royale was obviously intended as a standalone adventure, but it turns out Bond's thought dead brother was actually...
It was like Bond was adopted, or the other guy was adopted and the other one hated him.
Yeah.
And therefore he
was the author of all his pain and whatever he says in that movie.
Yeah, he's been manipulating Bond's life for years and years, which, to be honest, would be impressive if he wasn't a secret agent. But since he is a secret agent, that seems very impressive, more so even.
Yeah.
I remember there's a bit where a helicopter crashes. To be honest, I haven't seen Spectre since I saw it in the cinema.
Oh, the Day of the Dead bit's good, isn't it?
Yeah, that bit's good.
Yeah.
That's right at the beginning, isn't it?
Yes, and it's a sort of one-take scene which swaps from cranes to handheld to on the back of vehicles and all sorts. I think that's kind of... because Sam Mendes and Roger Deakins are reuniting for the new movie 1917. I don't know if you've seen any trailers, but that's going to be all...
I have.
That's going to be all one take for the entire film. So I think...
Well, it's going to be edited to look like one continuous shot.
Yes, okay, yeah. It's not technically one take, but it's done in that style. And I think Spectre was probably the practice for that.
Yeah. That's the thing. There's a lot of very good like visuals and stuff in Spectre. But it's just the since they've run out of Ian Fleming books, the James Bond films have just kind of been shrugging and being like, I don't know what this is about. There's a villain and he's trying to get Bond.
Yeah.
And then we'll just work backwards from there, yeah?
So there's kind of been romantic interests in all of these, and obviously in the effort of Bond to be a more sort of a modern franchise, obviously, like they're not just sort of one and done female characters. They try and continue their characters into the next films. But then does that create the issue of you can't just make like a standalone Bond film for the next one, because obviously then he's got people he needs to keep safe, etc. for those movies?
It's a very difficult one because Casino Royale did, but then Quantum of Solace, there's a character who turns up to try and take Bond back to the UK. He just says no, and she's like, well, okay, I tried. And then literally they enter the hotel room and he doesn't even need to say anything. He's just like, hi. And then it just cuts to the like afterwards.
No, he says, like, I'm looking for the stationery cupboard. And then it cuts to them
having had sex already.
Yeah.
Like, it's almost as if the film's like, you know what happens at this point.
Yeah.
Obviously there was another like a female lead in that he had more of like a connection with.
Not romantic connection, to be fair.
It was more they were both going through similar emotional journeys. Yeah, I think.
And she was good, actually. I really like. Is it Olga someone or other? I can't remember the actress's name, but yeah, she was really good in that movie.
It depends how you want to look at things, really, because there's nothing inherently wrong with somebody who has a lot of one-night stands, male or female. It's just obviously making sure it's not done in an objectifying way. I think that bit in Quantum of Solace, I was like, oh, okay then. I guess every Bond film just needs to have a scene where Bond has sex with a lady, and that was just like, well, we need to get it in somewhere.
Oh, don't phrase it like that, please, Phil.
But you see what I mean? Like, It doesn't need to be Bond is looking for a relationship. It can just be that actually he's a very, very deeply broken person. You have to be of a certain personality type to be a secret agent anyway. He could have some like attachment issues, something like that. But it is a very difficult one to get right, because obviously you don't want it to just be, oh, Bond is sexy man. He get lady. That's what Bond do. Yeah. To be honest, I'd be interested to see it flipped on its head, and like a woman who's just like, no, this was just a one night stand, and Bond's a bit like, oh, tasting my own medicine there.
Yeah, to be fair,
there's ways to make it. There's ways to make it progressive without it needing to be like Bond building this circle of people that he needs to protect and care about. There is a progressive way to do sex in films.
Or as they've done with Spectre, in having him be in a serious relationship with Mr. White's daughter, I think. Did I just imagine that?
No, she's back for the new film as well.
Yes, but she's got a secret or something, isn't she? And she's probably going to die within the first 10 minutes.
Well, yeah, sadly, she's been around for more than one film, which means she needs to die in the next one to give Bond motivation to go back.
Yeah.
'Cause
Yeah, to
otherwise
take
there's no
take him out of
story.
retirement again.
It's not something just the Bond films are guilty of, though, is it?
No,
'Cause I'm
no,
pretty
that's
sure
true.
that's how the second Bourne film opens as well.
But I don't know. This film could be really interesting because we've got Phoebe Waller-Bridge on as a writer for this one, and she's good at writing very complicated female characters. So, and we've got a new 00 who's probably going to be the new 007.
Yeah, because the whole story is that Bond is retired, so I guess they don't. They just reuse the 00 numbers because otherwise they'd run out.
Yeah, and that's going to upset a lot, a lot of gammons in the world, which I find quite amusing. In that the new 007 is going to be a black female.
Rami Malek is on as villain, which I'm excited for.
Yeah,
I like him.
Yeah, with a new weird deformity of some kind, because you can't have a Bond villain that just doesn't have a weird deformity. Actually, to be fair, the sort of the French guy from Quantum of Solace didn't have a weird deformity, did he?
No, he was just kind of strange.
Yeah.
Do we think that James Bond will die in this film?
No, because he was going to when Danny Boyle was behind this film, and the studio were like, "Yeah, no, we're not going to do that."
Okay, interesting.
Which I thought would have been a very interesting way, but I don't know. This studio seems determined to bring Daniel Craig back at any cost. So, I don't know. I think there's a somewhat likely chance that the new 007 might, because you know how this is marketed as No Time to Die 007.
Yeah.
I think there's actually a substantial chance that the new 007 could be the lead in the next movie, and then they've still got Daniel Craig there if they need him.
Yeah. It's kind of like a backdoor pilot.
In a Force Awakens-esque style, if we're gonna continue the theme of genre copying.
Yeah.
And then you can kill Daniel Craig in a later movie when his son comes back and stabs him through the chest.
As future Bond villain.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been mostly good, but the Bond films in general have been a bit of a mixed bag.
And I actually feel like trying to make it one long continuity has probably hampered the franchise. I mean, I say that the last two movies have made nearly $2 billion compared to Casino Royale and Quantum of Solace, which didn't make huge amounts of money. So what do I know?
Yeah, there's plenty of good spy and thriller writers out there that you could just do a lot of self-contained stories. I hope they don't, after Daniel Craig does finally say, "No, I'm definitely done," I hope they just don't start readapting the early films. Like, obviously, doing Casino Royale made sense. Because the original Casino Royale was, in the 50s or 60s? It was the first one they ever did.
Well, it wasn't part of this studio as well either, was it?
No, that's true as well. But, they could very easily be like, "Oh, we're just going to bring Goldfinger into the modern day." Because, if they're copying popular trends, I'm just saying, there's a big thing called Disney live-action remakes to be aware of.
Yes, no, I know exactly what you mean.
But, no, No Time to Die, there will be some inciting incident. I hope it's not female love interest dies, but there's a good chance it will be. And then Bond is forced out of retirement, and I hope he goes back into retirement at the end. Not in like a bad way, but I think Daniel Craig is such a good actor. And actually, after seeing him last what was it, last week we did Knives Out, or 2 weeks ago? Either way, he just seemed like he was having so much more fun in that.
Yeah, no, me too. And I'd quite like to see. I'd actually quite like to see something a little bit more fresh for the next iteration of this franchise. And I wouldn't be against this being a launch pad for a new 007. But yeah, there we go.
Nick, what is your ranking of the 5 James Bond films?
Casino Royale's the best one. I'm going to put Quantum of Solace at number 2, Skyfall at number 3, Spectre at number 4. You said 5 earlier. There's only been 4.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, No Time to Die was the 5th,
Yeah.
but that's not been released yet.
No.
Although, based on your trend lines, it's not looking good for it, because you're saying every film is getting progressively worse. For me, I really thought Quantum of Solace was a bit boring.
Mm-hmm.
So it's Casino Royale is the best, probably Skyfall, and then Spectre and Quantum of Solace are probably around the same. And we'll have to see about No Time to Die.